There comes a time when you face the truth alone, the greatest challenge to believe, and with the help from those who give you strength of mind, stand up and fight your battle, leaving your own inhibitions behind. Stand on your own. There's no retreat. There's no surrender, said singer Joe Torino, one of the theme songs from the movie No Retreat, No Surrender.
Nice. Van Damme's first movie.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Welcome to IOU, Industry Outlaws United. I'm your host, Brandon E. Brooks. Right in the box next to me, the man with the Indie Escape plan, Joe Ridgely. How are you, Joe?
I am excellent. Excited to be here again on another Friday night with an awesome guest. Thank you.
Awesome. Any Indie Escape news from this week, Joe?
Indie Escape news. What did we do last week? We had the celebration of Scott Schiaffo's 10th anniversary of his book. We had 4 clerks on screen at once. It was an awesome thing. We also had the Indie Escape members on and members of the Wandering Wannabes. I wanted to make sure I said that correctly, but it was definitely a great time. And David's coming back this Sunday with the second part of the Vincent Price tapes.
Awesome. We will be there to support. Definitely. It was great celebrating the great Scots last week. Congratulations again. Pick up that very inspiring book by Schiaffo. You will not be disappointed. I just want to thank the producer last week that stepped in when you weren't feeling good, CJ Robles. Please check out CJ every Monday on my Manic Mondayz. He discusses mental health as it factors into cinema. So it's a great show. Please go on Monday and support him. So yeah, I also want to give a shout out for coming to do this sporadically to my first 6 guests that started with Courtney Gaines, then went to Tiffany Shepard, Eddie Gannum, Rob Schmidt, Lou Simone, and last week, of course, Bill Allen. Thank you all again for blessing us with some amazing shows. And we very much appreciate it. And we look forward to another great show tonight. Who's in the house? Tim Melican, Subsoil Films. How you doing, buddy? Thank you for watching. All right, Joe. So let's get down to business. Can we please play the video for our guest tonight?
Absolutely.
Pretty awesome, huh?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So I'd like to welcome to IOU. This guest is a good friend, amazing actress, filmmaker, editor, and she can likely kick all of our asses. So being an established pro wrestler, welcome to IOU, Katarina Leigh Waters.
Hello, thank you for having me. And that was a pretty cool video.
Awesome, thank you. Hey, Rhonda, thanks for watching. Hey, how are you, Kat?
I'm great, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for being on IOU. I appreciate you. So yeah, so again, how's weather out there? Because it's pretty cold here. So
It's nice and warm. It's warmed up quite a bit.
I'm in the wrong place at the moment.
I guess so. Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So tell us a little bit about like your upbringing. Like you were born in West Germany, correct? And
Yes.
just tell us about like a little bit of that. And like, was Little Cat always creative? Were you always into? Did you always love the arts and everything that you ended up doing?
Yes, little Cat was always creative. I grew up in a small town in Germany, which was kind of like looking back. You always appreciate more in hindsight. How sheltered it was and how nice it was and what a beautiful town I lived in. And how it was cool. Like as kids, we could take our bicycles and like ride off into the forest together and just play and
The good old
without
days.
supervision and all that kind of thing. So that was really, really nice. My parents were both creative. My dad was an opera singer. My mom was a ballet dancer. So they both worked at the theater. So we grew up watching a lot of live theater as well. So we also had like a penchant for that. Also, when I was a kid, I was painfully shy, but I loved to read. So I was like reading book after book after book after book. And then I loved to write. So I taught myself to type on a typewriter.
Yeah.
Before the home computer was born. And I had a typewriter and I'd sit in my room and I'd just type for hours. And I had some short stories and poems published and on the children's page in the local newspaper. So that was kind of cool. And you'd get like a couple of bucks for it in your bank account. So I guess that was my first professional assignment. And then when I was a little older, at our local theater, they started a children's chorus. So me and my sister joined that, and we got to sing and be part of a few different like musicals. We got to be a part of Oliver Twist, Midsummer Night's Dream, the Mendelssohn Bartholdy version, Metropolis, which is a lesser known but amazing musical. And so, and after that, I was hooked after that. So that's kind of what really got me into wanting to do, performing arts.
Awesome. So needless to say, you had a lot of support from your parents in regards to all of this, like the arts. And so how did that, like, did you watch wrestling when you were a young girl or growing up?
So we didn't have cable TV until I was about 16. So up until then, we had 3 channels, and they were not showing any wrestling. So no. Also, my mom wouldn't have let me watch it up until pretty much that age. She was pretty, strict when it came to how much television we were allowed to watch. I didn't grow up watching horror movies with the rest of my classmates, which is maybe why I'm so scared of them now.
Oh, wow.
I didn't get too sensitized at an early age. But no, actually, my first awareness of wrestling, I guess I was about 8. I've talked about this before, but I saw an article in a magazine, and I thought it was really cool. And I always wanted to watch it. And then, I guess I started watching it here and there when I was about 14 because I would babysit for people who did have cable. And then I could watch what I want. So I started watching a little bit here and there. And then once we got cable ourselves, I was like, I was hooked then. And then I taped everything. And me and my younger sister, we used to watch everything together.
So movie wise, did you watch what you could movie wise? Were there a lot of American movies that played there? when you were growing up, or was that a little bit later in your teens that you started like indulging more cinema?
Yeah, I mean, American movies, they play everything there. It's always dubbed. So in Germany, they have very good dubbing. So you can watch a film, and you have actors speaking in German, but it's really well done. And also, when you go to the cinema, I guess it makes sense, but like for the big actors, they always use the same actor. So you watch a movie with Tom Cruise, and then you watch another movie with Tom Cruise, it's the same voice. So it's not like from movie to movie, it's like you're confused, but it's always the same actor. So you get to sort of get accustomed to that. But yeah, I mean, we watched a few. I watched E.T. at the movie theater. Obviously, I don't remember anything particularly about it other than that I know I cried a lot.
Yeah, tearjerker.
Yes. I think one of the first movies I got to see, I guess, by myself, and my first favorite movie, quote unquote, was Rain Man, which was with Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman, which I still to this day I'll watch and I'll cry every time. Like I love that movie so much.
It's a great movie. Yes,
so that was
absolutely.
Like my first sort of favorite, where I consciously said that's my favorite movie.
Awesome. It's great choice, great movie. So what were there any acting inspirations or that you loved watching growing up?
I mean, I didn't really think about it like that at the time. I just I liked an actor because whatever, there was something like about them. Didn't really appreciate the art of the acting at that point. Obviously Tom Cruise I thought was very handsome, and then Dustin Hoffman obviously was amazing. I was obsessed with the show Highway to Heaven with Michael Landon.
Michael Landon, yeah.
So that came like, I think it was either Wednesdays or Fridays it came on in Germany. And I was allowed to watch that every week. So that was
that was wholesome entertainment. Yeah, that was always on in my household as a little lad too. So yeah, absolutely. So tell me, how did Jerry Springer show factor into your kind of thrust more into the world of pro wrestling?
Well, that was kind of one of the first things where I was aware. So I didn't know that there was an independent wrestling scene. So I thought there's WWE or F at the time and WCW, and to work there, they find you in whatever, like, because I knew, Bob Holly was a racing driver, and, I think Kevin Nash used to be a basketball player, whatever. So I figured they would just take athletes or whatever, and they would just train them up there, and then they would become stars. So I thought that's how it worked. So I figured to work at WWF, you go there directly. I didn't understand, I didn't know there was other promotions or anything. I'd never heard of it. And so this is now fast forward years later, because now I've already been to university for film and drama, and I've now moved to London to pursue acting, really. And my sister came to visit, my younger sister that I used to watch wrestling with, and we were looking for something to do, and we found in a Time Out magazine there was a British independent wrestling show advertised. And we went, what? So we went to see that, and that was like the first time that I realized there was, independent British wrestling. And I thought, wow. I thought, well, because then I was suddenly so close to it. It was a small room. I was like, if they can do it, then I can do it, right? So that's when I became aware of it. And then a little bit after that, I saw the Jerry Springer UK episode, where it was a couple of the British wrestlers, Alex Shane and Stu the Dominator, they played out an angle where Alex Shane's girlfriend wanted him to quit wrestling, whatever, because of the women, or something like that, but it's something that they played up for the cameras. But the thing that struck me about it was that when I'd seen the show that I'd seen live, it was kind of a little old school British, with like singlets and stuff. But I really liked the American, the fancy style with the costumes and the larger than life characters. So then on the Jerry Springer UK, it was more like that, like Stu the Dominator had. He had one of the pads with the big spikes on it and stuff. And he had like, I can't remember if he had face paint, but he had, he had that look.
Very Legion of Doom, yeah.
Right. So they had that more kind of American character look, and I thought, oh, okay, let me find out where I can get more into that style. But that's, by this time the internet had been born, so I got to look for a school online, and then the school that I found, which I think was pretty much like the only like regular ongoing school that there was, at least in sort of that area, was in Sittingbourne, was called Hammerlock UK. Hammerlock, and it was NWA UK. They'd become affiliated with the NWA as the UK branch. And so I just took the train one Sunday afternoon, and I went down and said, "Hi, I'd like to join."
Nice. So do you remember your first match, and did you win?
I do. So I remember the very first match was a mixed tag team. So it was me and a wrestler called Tank against, and I can't remember either of their names, because the girl had come in to train. She used to train, and then she came back because they were gearing up for a TV show that they wanted her to be a part of. So she was kind of starting to come into training again. So she was in the match with another male wrestler. So we did like a mixed tag match. I don't remember much about it. I think it was sort of, we didn't do much, let me just say.
Okay, gotcha.
So I don't really, that was sort of my first match, but my real first match was against a wrestler named Magic, and that was in Bedford, UK, and it was in front of a crowd of 1,000 people, which was like maybe the biggest show that that company had. And it was really cool because the audience was just so into it. Not because Magic was great, okay, but I was still just learning. But they were just, I think it was the first time that they'd ran in that venue, so people were really excited and really got behind it. So I remember just really clearly that atmosphere of like everybody popping for the different moves and just getting behind it and really wanting you to succeed, and that was really amazing. But I can't remember. I probably lost. I assume I lost, but I can't remember.
So was the learning curve difficult? Like, I mean, that's, I can imagine. I trained for a little bit when I was in college, and aside from the bumps and bruises that I took, and I even got injured, I threw out my shoulder. But it's grueling just even learning the pacing and the timing. How was the learning curve for you?
I mean, it never stops. You never stop learning. There's always something that you go, oh, I could have done that better. I could have done this better. I mean, obviously things always happen in the ring because you don't rehearse it. So things always happen that you don't expect. And then in hindsight, you might always think, oh, I could have dealt with that differently. I could have dealt with that better.
Oh my God, that sounds like indie filmmaking.
Right, exactly.
Sounds a lot. Acting, the whole business. Right. So let's jump forward to Frontier Wrestling Alliance. So you went under Nikita, correct?
Yes.
And where did that originate from?
Well, so Kat was taken because Stacy.
Oh yeah, Jerry Lawler's wife at the time.
Yeah, she was Stacy Carter. She was Miss Kitty. And I was just going to call myself Kat, but then she started coming out as the Cat. So I thought, I have to change my name. Nikita, of course, came from La Femme Nikita with Peter Wilson, which I was also obsessed with that show.
Awesome.
And so I thought she was like the coolest thing in the world. And
so did you enjoy your time there in what's that? I guess FWA. Yeah, FWA. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
also,
it was awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. So obviously you can continue to learn, and then this ended up leading you to be scouted at some point by WWE, correct?
Yeah, I mean it was interesting because I was at an independent show, and actually first I saw on the WWE website they were doing open tryouts, so you could submit on their website and I saw it and I thought, well, I should probably just do that. So I submitted, and then I went to one of the tryouts and I didn't hear anything back. But a few months later, I met Tommy Dreamer at a show in England, and he asked me about it, and I said, well, I didn't get anywhere. And he said, well, but he was working in the office at the time. So he said, okay, well, next time we come to the UK, if you want, give me a call and I'll get you another tryout. So, and then they came back to the UK, and I obviously, nervously picked up the phone and said, Tommy, can I come? And he said, yeah, I'll book you in for both days, and, we'll get you paid. And I was like, paid? What? So, it booked me as an extra, as they do. And then obviously before the show, we, worked out in the ring and everything. And Johnny Ace saw me and said, I want to hire you.
Awesome. Oh, Johnny Ace. Okay. For those that aren't wrestling aficionados, John Laurinaitis. Yes. At one point was a professional wrestler, but then shifted to the office at the end of his career. But that's awesome. That's awesome. So in I think it was, what was it? February 2008, you debuted on Monday Night Raw. So that had to be a lot of nerves. So how was that experience?
It was, but at the same time, I think it was easier because I didn't come out wrestling the first time.
That's right, because you were out with Paul Burchill, correct?
Yes. So I came out and I got to do a promo. And for me, to be perfectly honest with you, to this day, and I just pretty much got out of wrestling, but I would say up until the very end, wrestling has always been still nerve-wracking for me. Hi, Sean.
Hey, Sean. Hey, TK, JD. Thanks for watching.
Just because you don't know, so many things can go differently, and you're in there and you have to be physical and you have to pretend to be, fighting against somebody, but somehow communicate with them at the same time. Whereas for me, acting, I never really got nervous, and I've done, a lot of acting, and I've been on stage and done a ton of plays. Yeah. I did a play where I was on stage for almost the entire play, so in terms of memorizing lines and performing, that wasn't a big deal to me. So having coming out and just cutting a promo was a lot more my comfort zone, I guess.
All right, so I've actually got something. I'm looking at all these pictures of her wrestling, and I'm just like, holy crap. You are phenomenal. Just amazing stuff. But I also have your reel loaded, if I may play that. It is spectacular stuff as well.
Please do, for our audience to see Kat kick some ass. Please do. Wow.
It was sick.
That is badass. Wow. Yeah, that's wow. So did you learn martial arts and swordplay for those projects, or did you already have prior experience that we saw there?
I had experience before. So I first started with like stunt fighting back in London. So
Yeah.
I did some workshops with different sword plays and stuff like that, like years ago. And then what else? Yeah, and also hand-to-hand combat and stuff like that. So, and then one of the videos, the one that's kind of like warehouse, that's a little
Yeah.
that worse quality, that came from a VHS. So that's also from
It
from
was
London
badass
back in
though.
the day. Yeah, and then the one where I'm a pirate, and then my
Mhm.
amazing friend Jasmine Ishan is the ninja. So, that was where we had like a whole series of workshops like leading up to that project as well.
Oh,
And then some of
awesome.
the other stunts were, yeah, but I mean, with stunt fighting, it's also like a lot of it is just, it's choreography,
Yeah.
so
It's
it's
hitting
a
those beats. Yeah, hitting those beats, definitely.
time.
So how would you surmise your years in wrestling? Because obviously there's ups and downs and everything, and
Mhm.
so how would you surmise overall your time, not just necessarily FWA, but WWE? You also had a long stint in TNA wrestling. How would you surmise everything? Was obviously it changed your life. It made you a name out there. But how would you surmise all of it as a female superstar?
What do you mean exactly by surmise? Like it
Well,
took.
just I mean, was it difficult? I've read many stories over the years from a lot of the women athletes. Even I've spoken to some and interviewed some that again had ups and downs, like Melina and different people. So was it an overall great experience for you? Like when you look back on all of it?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Actually, I'm going to tell you a quick story. I was at an indie show once, and this is after TNA, so it was also after WWE.
Mhm.
And I was at this little independent show, and one of the other girl wrestlers came up to me and said, "Was it worth it?" And I was like, "What?" And she goes, "Was it worth it? All the blood, sweat, and tears to get." I'm like, I never thought about it like that because I wasn't trying to get to an end goal. When I got on the train and I went down to Sittingbourne and I started training like at Hammerlock, I remember clearly my first training session, watching people doing like suplexes and body slams. I'm like, wait, what? I've only seen this ever on TV, nowhere else, and I get to do that now, and from that moment on, it was just about like being part of it and being on the shows. And it wasn't like I wasn't necessarily trying to get to WWE even, actually right before I got signed, I'd sort of taken a step back because I decided that I wanted to really focus on acting because that was always my main goal,
Yeah.
So that was kind of almost like a detour that, fate took me
Yeah.
took me along. So in that sense, like I don't think you can think about it like, oh, if I, like it's just a means to an end, because if you think about it like that, if you don't get to your end goal, you're always going to be disappointed. Whereas if you just love the work that you're doing, then it's always going to be worth it. That being said, I will say that obviously there are some things, or shall we say probably a lot of things, that I wish that I had done differently and things that I could have done better. And there are areas where I could have pushed myself more, or where I could have taken advantage of certain opportunities in a different and better way. I don't feel necessarily that I lived up to my potential, which is always kind of like a hard thing to say, I guess. But I mean, overall, I got to do some, amazing things at some amazing times. And I was just actually thinking when you played the video, like right at the end before I came on and I saw the different photos, I
Mhm.
think I don't always appreciate how much stuff I have actually been able to do, and how many exciting projects I have been able to be a part of, and how many opportunities I have had, because you kind of, when you're an ambitious person, you always think about the things that you
Yeah.
want rather than the things that you have. So it's important to also appreciate that. And I think too, like if you are, an artist or a performer or anything in that, you always want a little bit more than what you have.
Absolutely.
It's good to recognize maybe that you have the potential to go further. And it's maybe good to look back and go, okay, well, if I've done this, so maybe in the future I can apply that to, other things that I'm doing.
Absolutely. That's been a theme for the first 6 weeks of that. At least it's been brought up at least a few times of what you just said. It's sometimes we're so hard on ourselves to beat ourselves up to because we haven't reached necessarily some of the pinnacles we want to, that we forget to look back, like you said, and appreciate the journey we're on and the amazing people that we've worked with. And just, again, a lot of people in their career would love to be and have had some of the experiences that you had. And you've been out there on television for years to global audiences. So, I mean, and you, like I said, you've been around the world, you've worked with some amazing people, just like, I mean, and again, in my business, I'm at fault for doing that as well, of just, again, because I have so many lofty goals upcoming that you forget how far you've come and the growth. So yeah, it's definitely good to reflect sometimes. That's why I like putting those videos together, because everybody that watches them kind of goes down memory lane and sees how far they've come, and it always usually puts a smile on everybody's face. So so when you were Rhonda Butcher, if you love what you do, then it's not really work. It's more like getting paid for having a good time. Laugh out loud.
Absolutely.
Very, very true. Hey, Steve Gray, another one of our Indie Escape guys that has a show on Wednesday night. That's amazing. Thank you all for watching. Please send in questions if you have any for Kat. So did you suffer any injuries throughout your lengthy wrestling career?
No, I've been very lucky. I literally got away. I've never broken a bone, other than I may have fractured. Like one time I had like my finger felt like it might have had a little fracture in it, stuff like that. One time I was doing some stunt fighting and I got elbowed in the face.
Oh.
I had like a goose egg out here. And after that, it didn't quite, maybe go back. Some felt like maybe there was a small fracture in that, that kind of thing. But I never had to wear, I had to, have anything surgical. I never tore a tendon or ligament. But, I was very, very lucky.
That is very, very lucky, because a lot of the wrestlers that we both know, like multiple surgeries, multiple fractures, concussions, different things. So very, very, very lucky there. So we're going to move on to acting. What was the first project you ever acted in?
Well, professional project?
No, just all the first one, not professional. I mean, those are where the interesting stories are. Those little short.
I don't know, because when we used to be on vacation, me and my sisters used to make up little plays and perform them for parents and.
Okay. So we'll move. That's a good story though, but we'll move to professional then. So
professional. I mean, like I said, I was probably about 8 when I was at the children's chorus, and the first production that I was a part of was Midsummer Night's Dream. So me and my sister were dressed as a little elf, and we were in the chorus, and that was really awesome.
Awesome. So tell our audience about the Comedy Lab.
Oh, the Russell Brand thing.
Yes.
So this is when Russell Brand was before he was famous, and he was just starting with his own comedy series. And I think this was the pilot episode, and they were looking for a female wrestler to come in and beat him up at the end of the show. So I got the gig. And basically did this whole show. It was I think it's like different sketches and things, and he did some stand-up and whatever. And then right at the end I came in and I gave him like a back breaker and put him in a headlock or something. Maybe gave him like a snapmare or something like that. It was pretty basic, obviously, but
so he took it like a champ.
Yes, it was really funny. Yeah.
Awesome.
It was kind of like part of the outro.
That's very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So what's the first project you ever directed?
First project I directed. Oh, so I guess that would be my short film that was never, unfortunately, quite finished, called Welcome to Hell, which this is in 2005, I think, which is a small film. Well, I'm thinking about reshooting it, so I can't tell you what what happens. But anyway, we shot. A friend of mine helped me out. He was a student at one of the film schools, so we were editing it there, and then the hard drive got stolen. And and then I started trying to edit it from home, but I just never got it done. This is a terrible, stain on my. I recently got, because I still had the tapes. I found the tapes, so I got them converted into files, and I started editing together. And I was like, this is really not worth even, just from the quality. Obviously, this is we were filming on tapes, for digital like cars. This is like high.
I remember. I had one of those too, the High 8 movies. Yeah.
So, but that was like my first experience of like putting my own thing together. After that, the next one was in 2012. I made a short film called Lucille Means Light.
Fantastic. Absolutely.
I'm actually proud of it. The reason why it's not up for the world to see, it is up on my Patreon, by the way. So if you sign up to my Patreon, you can see it. The reason why it's not up for the public to see is because, again, the quality is lacking a little. Both the picture quality, again, is a little bit older, and
it's fantastic though. People go to the Patreon and watch it. It's fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Well, I think the concept's great. That's another one to where I'm like, maybe I'll remake that one day. But I love it was just two actors.
Mm-hmm.
And I just loved them so much. It was Julie Nichols and Seth and Jane. And they just embody the character so perfectly. So I feel like to do it again would take away some of that magic. But anyway, that was that. Then I made a web series called Red Light Diaries.
Another great one. No.
That was basically, I was like, I want to make a web series just to do it. And I thought, what can I shoot that takes place in my apartment? So the light bulb went off and I was like, a story about a prostitute, right? Because that's her workplace.
Yeah.
So I made that. That was sort of, it started off as a dark comedy, and then it gets into like thriller territory. And again, I really enjoyed that. But I shot it on a very, very like low. A couple of the episodes I had a cinematographer for, and the rest, like I shot it on my camera, and I just like,
oh wow,
switch the lights on so you could see. It's not something where I'm like, okay, I can present this as a show reel sort of thing.
It was well done, though. You can definitely see the vision and the creativity, even under those circumstances. So give yourself some credit. All right, Steve, you're very welcome. Steve Gray said, "What's the film where you power bomb Russell?" Can you see the Comedy Lab footage anywhere online, or
I don't know. I've never found it. It's not a film.
It's a show, right?
It's like a comedy show. I don't know if it. I assume it. Yeah, it must have aired at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It was produced by Graham Norton's So Television.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's probably in the space somewhere, because again, especially after he blew up, I'm sure that became a hot property like for Russell. So yeah, just got to do some extensive looking out there, Steve. I didn't actually find it, but so you're also an amazing screenwriter for our audience. Like, if you ever got to, I've been blessed to have read some of Kat's work. What is your process for screenwriting? Like, obviously you said you've written since you were a little girl, but what is your process once you started writing professional scripts?
Well, I usually start with some kind of a vision or an idea, like a hook, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then I start thinking about, what the story could be. I like to use the book Save the Cat by Blake Snyder. to help me with the structure and everything like that. I find that incredibly helpful. There are certain things in screenwriting, like rules of screenwriting that I do think are useful to observe and that can help you, create a better story. Like sometimes, I'll write and I'll realize that my protagonist could be very passive. Things are just happening around the protagonist. I'll think, well, he or she needs to be more active, and I'll try and figure out, how to do that or how that can be done and things like that. But in general, it starts with an idea and a vision. But then, like after a while, once I start getting the story together and I start writing things, sometimes it's like the characters stop walking and talking around in my head. And sometimes it's like I'm just doing the dishes or I'm driving somewhere and suddenly I see the characters, I hear them talking to each other and I go, oh, okay. And then I just have to like write it. It's almost like I'm watching them and then I just have to write it down at the end of it, so that can happen. That's always magic when that happens.
Absolutely.
And I like to, sorry.
No, please.
I like to, a lot of the time I will write with people in mind, either people that I know or actors that I love or that I think would be good for the part or that would work for it. Usually, I mean, I don't envision like, a Tom Hanks, but I'll think of actors that I've worked with or actors that I've been around, and then that makes it easier for me to, have the characters come to life.
Absolutely.
They already have that characteristic about them, or they already I can hear them talk better.
Yep, I do the same exact thing. So tell us a little bit about another badass flick that you can actually watch on Tubi, Karate Kill.
Yes. Okay. So that was in 2015. I play Simona, which is like henchwoman. That was a really awesome experience. I get to fight when in the stunt reel. That's where I'm wearing like the eye patch and the black.
Yeah.
That was a really, really cool film. And it's really funny too. Actually, I watched it and I was like laughing out loud.
Awesome. So in this crazy acting world that we're all part of, both of us are part of in the filmmaking as well. Do you find struggles at times? Do you with like maybe not getting the right auditions or some auditions you may want or landing specific roles that you may want to go out for or whatever?
I mean, some of the time, you mean all of the time. So yes, and yes. So all of those things. Yes, definitely in acting. I mean, it's hard because you don't have control over these things, and it's a numbers game. And from being on the other side, I can also see how arbitrary it is. Like from casting myself, I can see sometimes like you'll have 5 different people up for a role, and they could all be equally good. Or somebody could be really good, but they don't have quite the right look. And you really are set on a specific look and somebody else has that look. And so they get it. Or if you're casting with somebody else, like I did a staged reading once for a screen that I wrote. And then me and my co-producer for one of the roles, I really liked this one girl. He really liked one of the other girls. We actually couldn't agree on either one. At all. So we chose a third one that we both could agree on. And so that can be the difference between whether you get the role or not. So knowing that makes it a little bit easier, I guess, in a way to deal with it because it doesn't hurt your ego quite as much, knowing that maybe you were just as good or maybe you were good enough, but you just didn't get it for other reasons, But at the same time, it's also frustrating because you don't have really control.
It's true. It's very true.
Sometimes it's just a question of taste or whether somebody likes you. You could be 5 years too old, 5 years too young, a little bit too tall because the other actor, so it's just so much to do with that. So, and that's one of the other reasons why I also want to focus more on filmmaking myself,
Mhm.
because I do get to control that, you know,
Yeah.
and I get to make those decisions, and I'm not like a egomaniac in that sense, but like I love to create art, and when I have a vision in my head, to be able to be in charge of how that's going to be, fulfilled. And I don't want to jump ahead, but I think we're going to talk about a film. I'm shooting a short film next month called Dead Man's Hand, and so I'm in pre-production for that. And like the process of getting the different props together and deciding on the wardrobe, and I get to make those decisions, and I get to say what it's going to look like. And so that to me is like, it's just so thrilling. And from having been on set for, my short films, more, I guess, like Lucille Means Light was kind of like the most, because I transformed my apartment for that. It was like a sea of candles, and but like watching something that was such a strong vision in my mind, and it being manifested in real time and real life was just like incredible.
Absolutely. That's why I said you should give yourself credit, because it's very beautifully shot. I mean, I know it wasn't what you're necessarily it's never what our minds think.
Right.
But again, for especially starting out, like, I mean, it's very well done. Just like Red Light. Red Light has a lot of amenities to it that are fantastic. So Kat, thank you for that answer. Yes, that's a very real answer that we like on this show, because it is difficult, like just going into these auditions and kind of just, again, even if you think you knocked it out of the park, you just never know like what the other people are seeing. Maybe they see you for something down the road, you just might not be right for that specific part. So,
and it's crazy too, just one more thing. Like sometimes I've noticed I'll get an audition for a part and I think, that's totally me. I'm a shoo-in. This is perfect part for me. I can like do it like this. And then I'll do the audition and I can't get to grips with it. And I'm playing the character and I'm like, I can't get it. I can't get it. And I watch it back and I'm like, this is awful. And I can't fix it. And it's weird, because some characters or some, lines, the way they're written, just speak to you so much. It's just easy for you to get it out, and you're like, wow, there's this just, and you watch it back 5 more times because you're proud of the job that you did. And other times you might expect that you're going to do a good audition, and then you just can't get it right for some reason.
And in this world of self-tapes, that seeps even more doubt into our heads, because you're not being directed like you are when you walk in a room. So I try to stay.
Tapes, I don't like any of
Exactly. So Steve Gray asked, "Are you still involved in the wrestling scene?"
Yes, I am. So actually, I have decided to quit wrestling, which is mainly a decision just for. Like we said earlier, I've never been injured, and I don't fancy getting injured now, because I am focusing on other things that are now more important to me. But I've been very lucky that I have transitioned a little into doing commentary for some of the shows. So there's a promotion out here called Best of the West, and we have a show tomorrow night in Vegas. So I'm going to be myself and AJ Kirsch, who's a fantastic announcer, and he also wrestles, but he won the Rock the Promo show, the reality show with The Rock. So he's my co-commentary. So that's going to happen tomorrow night. And then Sunday morning, I'm going to be doing live commentary for a show that's taking place in Germany for a serious sports entertainment. And so I'm going to be watching it online and then just putting in the audio for, the American and English market. So they have their own commentators, I assume, over there as well. And that's going to be on Fight.
Awesome.
TV.
Awesome.
So I'd love to get more into it. So that's really, really fun for me, because then I still get to be a part of it. I get to be a character, because I have a character already. So I get to be a little bit like a heelish, and I can have my opinions about things.
Nice.
So that's really, really fun for me to do.
Awesome. He said very nice. And Rhonda Butcher said sounds very satisfying. I think she was talking about Lucille Means Light, and when you were speaking of that. So Kat, so little known story. I've worked with Kat before. I actually, back in the day when I was actually watching wrestling, I was watching TNA wrestling, and you popped up on the screen. I believe it was in the reflection of a mirror in a story with the beautiful people. And again, I was just enamored by again, you weren't even saying much. I believe in some of those setups to you becoming a full-time wrestler on the show. But there was just something about the presence that was there. So I had written a story at the time that has since morphed and changed into something a little bit different. But yeah, so I just reached out to you and asked you about this project that I was going to direct, and it was an interesting character, not a ton of dialogue, but a lot of presence. But I've always wanted to ask this question. Like, we've known each other for years now, but why did you initially say yes to play Simone Foster in my project?
I mean, mainly because I wanted to work and act. I mean, to be honest. But then, obviously, once you approached me about it and you told me about it, I was like, this is a really cool kind of premise. And it was like having that kind of like that stillness, playing that character that is almost like a zombie, but having like a different kind of mysterious quality about it. That was something that definitely, spoke to me. And then, I mean, not to mention having a scene with Brian O'Halloran was amazing. And there were some cool scenes in there. Like, there wasn't, like you said, there's not a ton of dialogue, but like even looking back when he sent me some of the pictures, like later on, I was like, oh, I forgot we did that, like in the casting office. And
yeah. So again, thank you for that's real talk there. Like, again, it is about work, but at the same time, I appreciated it. And again, it sparked a good friendship that we've had, and we'll definitely work again together. And again, I've never said this. I don't speak too much about myself and the things that I do, but that project does have serious distribution talk right now, and it's looking like it's going to be like a fall or Halloween type release for it. So, and there's a sequel that was greenlit as well. So there'll be more info on that on the Indie Escape as we move in the future. But again, thank you for that. Okay, so this is a game that we play called One Sentence or Silence. Basically, what this is that. Basically,
I'm not good at this kind of game.
No. This basically is, I don't know if you've seen it before, but in any of the previous episodes, but I will say a name of someone you work with, and you speak a little bit about them, good or bad. And if you don't say anything, then that means they suck. So
we're live.
Hey, there's been a couple people who have stayed silent, but not very many. So we'll see. We'll see what we'll see how you do. All right, I'm gonna start you off with the Bella twins.
You know what? I love the Bella twins. I was a Bella Twins supporter from the beginning, because I think a lot of people didn't realize how hard they actually work. So people thought they came in, they were pushed because they're pretty and they're twins, and they were pretty new, so they were pretty green. So they got a lot of flack for, oh, they're not, great wrestlers yet or whatever, and they're getting pushed. But those people also, didn't see how they really wanted to always work and improve, and they were always wanting to make the match the best that it could be. So I always had a lot of love for them, and I always enjoyed working with them.
Also, Mark Strange.
Away from what they
true. They've accomplished a lot, absolutely, far beyond the wrestling world. All right, Mark Strange.
I love Mark Strange. Mark Strange is actually I worked with them. So obviously you're asking because of Redcon 1. So he was on Redcon 1, but I actually worked with them years before that on a movie called Displaced, which was before. Yeah, this is a picture from Redcon 1.
Yeah.
He's not in this picture.
He's not in that photo, but yeah. No. But he,
next time, send me a photo with him in it, Dan.
But he's fantastic. I mean, he's like almost, legendary in England. He's one of the top, stunt coordinators over there. He's nicest guy. He also, when we did Redcon 1, we had a week's long fight training with him.
Mm-hmm.
So he taught us a ton of stuff. But yeah, like I said, I worked with him years before. That was my first experience with him on a movie called Displaced, and we did a fight choreography. But he's just a super nice guy.
Yeah, he's always been supportive on my page of different posts. So we've chatted a little bit online. Very, very
He's
nice
a
guy.
great actor in Redcon 1.
Yeah.
Like, his character, I mean, is awesome. And he's done some other really cool movies since then.
Yeah, he's been in the last It Man movie. Yeah, good dude. All right. Kevin Nash.
Well, you know, he's my favorite wrestler from the beginning until the end. So he was the champion when I started watching wrestling seriously. So he was Big Daddy Cool, and I was he had my heart from then on. So he's kind of like being, you know, that favorite wrestler that you have.
Absolutely, absolutely. Jamie Bernadette.
Jamie Bernadette was the lead in the film Killing Joan. So she was really awesome. You know, I don't have anything bad to say to her other than that I wanted the role that she got.
There we go. There we go. There we go. Eric Bischoff.
I mean, you can't.
Yeah.
What?
I thought you were staying silent.
No, I'm not staying silent.
No,
Eric Bischoff was awesome. I was like honored to meet him, honored to have worked with him. He's always said good things about me too, which is nice. I mean, unbelievable what he achieved.
Yes.
You know, with the Monday Night Wars and everything. I mean, a legend.
Absolutely. I actually met him at the last event a few months ago that we saw each other, and very, very nice guy. We talked about like some of the stuff he has upcoming with the Hulk Hogan movie and for Netflix, and very, very cool dude, man. I've always respected his hustle from the beginning, like starting behind the scenes in WCW and making his way up, like you said, to the NWO storyline and on. So very cool. All right. Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle is always very nice to me. I actually, I was surprised that he always recognized me and knew who I was because we didn't have a lot of interaction, you know. But obviously, in terms of wrestling, one of the most accomplished athletes ever.
Olympic, yeah.
Funny,
awesome,
right?
Awesome. Mickey James.
Love Mickey. One of my best friends still, you know, in the business. The one, I guess, from my WWE time and all that, probably the one that I stay in touch with her, and Boogeyman also. Not that in case if that was another name that you're going to bring up, I'm going to preface that now. Mickey James, unbelievable. One of those women, and I said this before, but it's always worth mentioning. When it comes to in wrestling, when it comes to having a match with somebody and you have to choreograph a match together, a lot of the time it can be a little bit difficult to navigate past each other's egos to where you work together to serve the match rather than just trying to make yourself look better than the other person. Something that I was never good at, and I sometimes, you know, would be generous to a fault, should we say, which is like why I prefer to be a heel, because you can get away with it. Mickey James, completely unselfish, always wanted to put you over as much as she wanted to put herself over, was always interested in making you look good as well as herself, and always interested in working towards having, in whatever situation, having the best match that we could have under whatever the restrictions may have been, you know, in terms of time or this and that, you know, always pushing to have the best match possible for both of you. So, an amazing, beautiful person inside and out.
Agreed. The immortal Hulk Hogan.
I mean, he's immortal. He's a legend. I'm gonna be silent because I don't. He doesn't suck. I mean, I worked with him at TNA. He was always nice to me and everything like that. To be honest, like I was a Warrior fan, so I wasn't a Hulk Hogan fan. You know, I was
Team Warrior.
I was
Yes,
on the other
yes.
team. So
Gotcha. And finally, you mentioned him already, but we'll speak a little bit about Brian O'Halloran.
Brian was so cool to work with. That was really, and thank you for that experience, by the way. That was really cool to work with him. A great actor, obviously, super nice on set, but also wanted to like work hard to make it the best that we possibly could.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Well, thank you. You got through without the silence. There
No,
you
wait a
go.
minute. This is the same Brian O'Halloran that was on last Saturday,
It's the same one, Joe. Yes.
and she likes him.
Moving on.
What happened?
They have a banter back and forth. Like
Okay.
he's on the network a lot, like on different
Right.
shows. So see, he's family.
It's like, is there a feud happening here?
No, it's all love. It's all love. So, Kat, if money was no object, I'm going to ask you two questions. If money was no object for you to play a specific role in a film or television show, what would that role be?
I would say probably like an evil queen in a fantasy or fairy tale period piece.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
I'd
same
like
question.
to ride a horse. I'd like to ride a horse and do some sword fighting and be evil. Maybe some magic as well.
Awesome. Okay, same question. If you could direct a film, any budget, what would that be?
Well, actually, I wrote a film called The Bullet Drop, and it's kind of a neo-noir, and that's the film that I would like to shoot.
All right, I see that happening because the premise is amazing, and I'm still waiting to read that draft of the script though. So
sorry,
it's okay. It's okay.
I know what I need to say because you've helped me before. And by the way, for everybody watching this, I have sent Brandon a couple of my scripts before, and you've given me such amazing notes. Like, remember even my film Scavengers, and you read it and you were like, oh, think about the opening scene. And I came up with I like to think I came up with something really cool, but that was because of you, because I wouldn't have thought about that otherwise, so
right. It's there though. I mean, like I get a lot of scripts, and especially for people that are just starting out, and there is a lot more work to do. I've been writing for close to 20 years now, so I was impressed right from that Scavengers script all the way to Crystal Black, and like I said, there's definitely a lot of vision in there, and you can see it. I think some of the best scripts are when you read it and you can instantly visualize it.
Right.
I remember reading some of M. Night's earlier scripts, like Unbreakable, before it was made. He writes very similar to you, and like he's painting a picture. And that right there is, I mean, I love that style of writing. I don't I do a little bit of it, but I don't necessarily go as deep. But again, I have an immense respect for it. So again, it's I see the Bullet Drop happening, and Crystal Black, and even Scavengers, because again they're well crafted. So
thank you. Well, Crystal Black is called Beautiful Monsters now.
Yes, that's right.
And I shot a concept trailer for it last year, which you've seen, which this is actually the one that I'm the most proud of so far. And this is what's given me the confidence to do the Indiegogo for my short film that I'm shooting next month. And that's what gave me the confidence, because I didn't want to ask people to help me make something and then have it like not be good quality.
Yeah.
So having done the concept trailer last year, and that being like me being proud of it, helped me, like, obviously with my confidence in myself, going, okay, now I can start making some things happen, hopefully. So Beautiful Monsters will hopefully be the next, or my first feature film.
Not hopefully, it will be. It will be. Speak it into, manifest it, speak it into fruition. It will be. It will be. So talk about what's upcoming for you, film-wise, stage. You mentioned some appearances already. So tell us a little bit about Dead Man's Hand and any other acting or things you have upcoming.
Yeah, so Dead Man's Hand is a short film that I'm shooting next month. As you can tell maybe by the title, it is about poker and about some other things as well, love and revenge mainly. So I did an Indiegogo for that, which was successful. Thank you to everybody who amazingly contributed. Actually, the campaign is still up, so we have the production funds and all that, and it's going ahead. But the campaign is still up in case people want to still help with, post-production, so we can put some extra polish on the editing, things like that. I'm going to be cutting it, but in terms of having somebody help snazz it up, I'd like to have some funds for that potentially, and also to submit it to film festivals and things like that, because I haven't had a film in a film festival yet. So that's something that's really important to me, that I want to be able to put that out there and have people see it and see my work and be able to maybe go to some of them and talk to people and say, hey, I made this thing, so that's the next step on the journey, so to speak. And then it's mentioned Beautiful Monsters would be hopefully Beautiful Monsters will be off the back of that, my first feature, right?
Awesome.
In terms of performing, so like I mentioned, I'm doing the commentary for a couple of wrestling shows, and then the Best of the West promotion that's going to be ongoing. And I think that's it in terms of what I have planned per se. I'm also obviously writing some of the stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. JD, actually, we actually spoke about this before the show. How does one watch Emergency LA?
Emergency LA, as far as I know, does not exist. So it's one of those things which I like to call phantom projects, which, in all honesty, I think there's a lot of credits on my IMDb that are phantom projects. And by the way, I'm not the one. I haven't put anything up myself on IMDb that doesn't exist, but other people have added me to things that they have in development or that they were planning to do, because, for whatever reason. And those projects have never come to fruition. So that's why they're up there. As far as I know, Emergency LA is one of them, because I haven't filmed anything for it. It's been in the works. That being said, it might not always be. Maybe it'll still get picked up, and then it won't be a phantom project anymore. But I've been cast in a lot of projects that didn't happen, so that was one of them.
There's a lot of phantom projects on IMDb that that never happened. So yeah, so that's your answer, JD. Steve, great. Rhonda Butcher, great movie. The Bellas put in the work. It shows, most definitely. Tim, one of my producing partners, you had me at Neo Noir. There you go. Steve Gray, great show, guys. Awesome host, amazing guests. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. So, Kat, at the end of the show, I always ask every guest to drop some nuggets of knowledge to the audience. We have a lot of filmmakers, actors, creatives watching every week. So it can be uplifting or not, whatever it is you like to say. So the floor is yours, please.
Nuggets of knowledge. Well, one thing, that I already mentioned is, doing it for the love of doing it and enjoying the hell out of it. That's one thing. The other thing I would say is, gotta be true to your vision if you are creating something. I did mention earlier, having like the screenwriting book, the Blake Snyder screenwriting book, and observing the rules and it, things like that. And to a point you should, but also to a point, trust your instincts and trust your gut. Sometimes people will try and dissuade you from something, but if you feel really, really strongly about it and you see that vision, you might just be tapping into something that other people just can't see yet, and then in 5-10 years time, you'll see somebody else come up with exactly the same idea, and you'll be mad because you didn't follow it, because it was in your heart to do it, but so many people told you it was stupid that you didn't do it. If you think about say a wrestling reference, think about Orange Cassidy. I'm sure a lot of people would have thought that was nonsense. Don't do that, that will never take off. And it was something that really catapulted him to success. If I look back at my own career, wrestling wise, for example, there were things where I had ideas to do different gimmicks, and then I doubted myself and I second guessed myself and I didn't do it, rather than just saying, well, let's try it. Sometimes it's worth it to just say, let's try it and see what happens. So if you have an idea, just put it out there, and just see what happens. And you might just be tapping into something.
It's great wisdom there, audience. Great wisdom. Just make it happen. Just do it. Like I said, if you have a voice, you have something you feel like you need to say, then say it. Mm-hmm. Mr. Ridgely.
I'm just here. I'm just an amazing show. I'm just there in the background, my jaw dropping a little, going, damn. But anyway,
yes, she can kick our asses, Joe.
Yeah, not only, but the whole O'Hanlon thing, really?
Oh, come on.
Don't try and pull me into your feud.
This is a wrestling angle right here, Cap. This is there.
I've known Brian for a few years now, and yes, he's been a regular on our show, and he's highly respectable.
Yeah.
But on that note, Katarina, where can we find you on your social medias?
So on Twitter and Instagram, my handle is Katarina's Infamy, which is the way it's spelled. You can see on the screen, KatarinaSinfamy. Facebook, I think it's the same. Facebook.com/Katarina's Infamy. And that's it. I don't have a TikTok because it's too much to do.
I agree.
There you go.
Stop bringing out like new social apps.
That's awesome.
I barely post enough on Instagram, so it's got to be enough for me.
That's awesome. All right. Well, Kat, you are definitely a badass. You're definitely an outlaw. I'm proud to call you a friend. And your future, like I've said to many, is immensely bright. You're going to be able to do all these projects in a short period of time. I definitely believe it because the writing's great. The vision's beautiful. So again, thank you for coming on IOU from me to Joe to our whole Indie Escape audience. You were amazing. Audience, please go. You can go to Tubi and other platforms, watch Killing Joan, Redcon 1, anything, even like Kat said earlier, go to our Patreon and you can check out Lucille Means Light and other perks and things that are on there. So definitely support this artist because this is somebody that you're going to see for many years to come, putting out a lot of great work. So network if you can. And again, she's an asset to any project she's involved with from behind the scenes or in front of the camera. So Kat, again, thank you, my friend, for blessing us this night and being on my show. And again, I look forward to seeing you again and working with you down the road.
Thank you so much for having me, you guys. It's been a pleasure. It was really fun.
Absolutely. Good night.
Thank you. Have a good night. Have a great weekend, Kat.
You too.
Wow, she was spectacular. And when she mentioned the whole fantasy thing for a series or a movie, for some reason it like automatically clicked Xena reboot. I don't know why.
Oh, that's that right there. And she would be riding horses and sword fighting and
I mean, it wouldn't be the princess kind of or the queen kind of thing, but it would be
I can see that. I can see that totally. And in the world now we are with reboots like everywhere from different genres. That you might have put something out there in the air, Joe. That's Cats. If you're still listening, the new Xena. I like it. I like it. So yeah, so definitely. But again, she has some amazing projects she's written, and Dead Man Tan's going to be amazing too. So again, it's great. The talent we've had the first 6 weeks, obviously, were amazing for a lot of different ways. But we've seen a lot of the things a lot of them have done because of classic films like Rad and Children of the Corn and some of the other amazing projects. But I think the future is so bright for her because a lot of people haven't seen it yet, like with the writing and some of the stuff that's upcoming. But it's gonna be something that's gonna be big because it's different. And like I said, there isn't very many neo-noir pieces or things that are out in the public on a mainstream level. So she definitely is trying to do something different, and it's going to work. So I really do believe that. So
I'm looking forward to getting more coverage here on
absolutely. And like I mentioned about the project that she stars in of mine, I'll definitely down the road. I'd like to have a panel thing with the cast of the film, and I'll bring Kat back and possibly O'Halloran and your buddy. I just want to say shout out, thanks to everybody that they showed up tonight and then sent in questions. JD, Steve, Rhonda, Tim, and anybody else who's watching. You're much appreciated. Please continue to watch. Please go to our YouTube for the Indie Escape and press subscribe, because the more you do that, the more we can continue to give these amazing shows 7 days a week. Mr. Ridgely, would you please tell them about some of these amazing shows that we give every day of the week?
Absolutely. What do we have coming up? Scott Meaney is on a little hiatus right now, so there will be no Saturday show. We have David Lee Madison's The End of the Night coming on Sunday. He is going to have the Lost Vincent Price tapes. On Monday, we have My Manic Mondayz with CJ. On Tuesday, we have Gabe's show, which I can't pronounce.
Cymbalista.
Mama Lava Ding Dang, something like that. Yeah.
But go watch it Tuesday night.
Something very similar to that. Cymbalistic cynicism. Yeah.
Cymballistic cynicism. There we go. We got it.
Then we have Steve Gray's show that's going to be coming back soon on Wednesday nights. Thursdays, we have
Mick and Kurt, right?
Mick and Kurt. I'm trying to think of the Dream Warrior review, because obviously Mick was involved with Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 and 4. They review movies, some absurd ones also, from like black and white monster movies and stuff.
From like 1927, yeah.
It gets pretty interesting. Alaska divided by -0 with Daniella. And man, you think I'd have a list of this already, or I'd have them memorized.
Our buddy
Greg has
Shepard,
Cold Fusion. Yes.
So,
and then Friday night, obviously your show.
Awesome. Well, again, this is the Indie Escape. Like I said, we're growing, and there's entertainment every night of the week for everybody, and we're just trying to continue to not necessarily entertain, but also educate, like CJ shows about mental health. And again, each show has a different flavor to it, and it brings you something different. So please go support all the other shows. Like I said, go to the Indie Escape, like, subscribe, share, please. And again, thank you for the whole audience that came and watched tonight. Thank you again to Kat for an amazing interview. And we're going to sign off, and everybody have a great weekend. And in closing, believe in the power of yourself and the right others. Have a great weekend, everybody. Peace.
Now it's time for a subliminal message. You will go to the Indie Escape YouTube channel. You will like and subscribe. You will go to the Indie Escape Facebook page. You will like and subscribe. You will go to our Instagram page. I don't know. I think you only like that. Anyway, and we got that Twitter thing, but nobody knows how to use it.